What's up, guys? What's going on today?
Not much. Slow news
Here
there.
to see you.
Miss you too.
We've got a new coach over in the Wasserman Center who's a first-time head coach. What would be your advice for a first-time head coach at UCLA?
Well, Coach Foster and I texted yesterday. My first advice would be don't respond to text messages. It takes too much of your time. I remember when I took this job, and I wasn't a first-time head coach, it was like almost 1,000. You know, that would be my comical first piece. You know, you can't imagine that's, you know, you got to focus on what you need to get done. You know, people just got to understand, you know, that you can't get back to everybody, to every congratulatory text. You know, need to, but he doesn't need my advice. He's been around, guy's been coaching football a long time. So I'm sure I'll see him today, hopefully at some point, and make sure he knows that I'm here for him if I can help him in any way. I don't have anybody tough enough to play for him. Maybe Brandon Williams, but he's probably too tall. You know, if he went over the middle, he might get killed. So, yeah, I don't have anybody to play. He's probably got a few to play for me, though.
Did you text or call?
Text.
Text.
Can you pull together on NIL, or does it have to be football and basketball?
Yeah, you know, I'm worried about Colorado, man.
Okay.
You know,
Sure.
you start asking about NIL stuff, it's like,
Okay.
you know, to try to ruin my day.
Colorado, they are having a very good season, but the one thing that stands out to me, 1-6 on the road. What do you see there? I mean, obviously it's hard to win on the road, but
It's hard, man. You know, it's just hard. I mean, you look at Kansas last night. I mean, you know, it's just tough. You know, the road is unkind. But you know, there can be factors that go into that people don't know. Like you can't look at a statistic, and this could be any analytic statistic. You know, I remember talking to Coach Larry Brown one time about when you know, he was coaching in the NBA, and an owner tried to tell him that Serge Ibaka shot it better from 17 feet than Kevin Durant. No, that's, you know,
Yeah.
and he had to explain to the guy that that's because Serge Ibaka's wide open because they're double teaming Kevin Durant. They were both on OKC. You know, so you can't just look at everything, you know, from 20,000 feet. So you don't know if they've had injuries in those games. Who's playing well? Yeah, I don't know what that is either. You know, the other fact is there's so many factors when you know, you like, okay, you play UCLA now versus you play UCLA in December, right? So you know who they played and when they played them. Was that team playing really well? Like we beat Arizona State, they were on a roll, they were tied for first, they were undefeated at home. It's an unbelievable win for us at that time. So you just never know with stuff like that. You know, I look, they got a good team. They're a veteran team. KJ's had an unbelievable year. De Silva's been a great player in this league for a long time. Tad knows what he's doing. So that's how I look at it.
With everything you said, does that change the scout on it at all? Do you look more at away games? Do you?
No, we look at who you are now.
Who you are now. Okay.
Yeah, who you are now.
So the most recent games.
Yeah. And then obviously you're looking at, you know, past matchups with coaches, what they did against what you do. You know, you're always looking at last year, you know, even though the players were different, just from a strategical standpoint,
Right.
that there's certain things that you do the same, although your players are different. What did they do to combat that? But when you start looking at who a team is, you know, like Alex knows, I always have him give me our last five stats filtered, and our opponent's last 5 and last 10. So, you know, I think that's way more relevant than who, you know, I guarantee you teams when, again, with us, they're telling their team, here's who they are now. Versus maybe who you watch play in December on the televised game.
How tough are they with that matchup with De Silva and Williams, both 6'8"-ish kind of small forward types?
I just think they're very different players. You know, Cody likes to drive the ball. You know, he played a lot of point guard in high school and AAU, as you and I sat there and watched. So you know, and Tristan's more of a jump shooter. I mean, he'll go down in the low post. They'll try to exploit some switches in the low post with him. So there's very, very different guys. I think when you start talking about size and concerns, for me, I look to rebounding. I always, you know, look to rebounding. You know, being a young team, you know, something I think that we have to always be cognizant of is the physical battle and how hard it is to get a rebound in a conference game, you know, and that's why we won the Cal game. It surely wasn't our great shooting in the second half. So yeah, their size concerns me on the backboard. Not their center size, like you're saying, their totality. Because you know, Hadley does a lot of paint tough work too, and O'Brien's a tough guy crashing. You know, so you know, there's a lot of times they got, you know, four really good rebounders on the court at the same time.
First year here, obviously you went from sub 500 to firmly on the bubble before the season was shut down. Do you feel like this team is capable of doing that same thing?
Yeah, I was wondering when that question was going to come. You know, it's the last thing on my mind. You know, it's all like, it just doesn't matter. You know, if we get to the point where that's, I'll be proud of our guys if we can get to the point where that's a real conversation. I know it's not a real conversation right now. Right now, we need to get better. I just keep trying to tell these guys every day that the magic potion in life, not just for their career, for everybody, is that a lot of people get up and go through the motions. Few people get up and try to get stuff done and be productive every day, and that's the key to success. And I think with these guys, what happens in basketball, practice gets late. You know, you get to this time of the year, and guys just try to get through practice, get to the games, and to me, that's the worst thing you can do. You got to try to become a better player. We try to sell them on that every day with the work we spend with them individually, with film study, with shooting, with one-on-one moves, and the stuff we do as a team. We got to get better.
Coach, I was wondering if there's a detail you can pinpoint from that Cal game that helped you win that you want to take with you into these next two games at home.
Yeah, we had some great defensive rotations from Sebastian Mack behind our pick and roll coverage. He did some great off the ball defensive things in first half with his hands, second half with his defensive rotations. A couple of them behind our pick and roll. Him and Dylan are getting better at that. You know, with Sebastian's high school coach just told him shoot every time, because that's what he did when he played, Jeff Kaufman. So
are you still trying to get recruits from Mr. Kaufman?
Mr. Kaufman texts me constantly to quit worrying about weak side defense and focus on scores. Because he texted me last night that he has the leading scorer at Texas Tech, UCLA, and there's one other one. Yeah, he texted me last night. He's got three guys who are leading scorers at different schools. Oh, Arizona State.
All right.
Yeah, because he let it fly as a player, and that's what he teaches his guys. So. Yes, Mr. Kaufman and I are very close friends.
2 second half turnovers, and I think one was a shot clock violation. How critical has turnover reduction been in this stretch, and what's gone into that?
Experience. You know, you grow, your toughness level grows, I think, as you get some experience. I think that your heart rate slows as you get some experience with the ball. And it just teaches you, you know, what you can and can't do. You know, that driving tight gaps or playing too fast or throwing passes that we try to say throw 100% passes and take 50% shots. You know, you can't be risky with any pass. So I just think it takes time. You know, it's just, hey, look, man, coaching would be easy if you could, you know, everybody wants to play great D, have high execution on offense, never turn the ball over and rebound. You know, everybody says the same thing, right? We all go and talk to teams. So it just it takes some time to get some guys to become who they can become, and your team to get to what they need to get to. But I would totally agree with you. And I think, you know, you've been covering me for a while now, so especially on the road, you gotta take care of the ball. It's number one on the board, not defense, because it sets up your defense. So, you know, now you gotta do is, it's football too. You know, I fell asleep Sunday, but, you know, turnovers, you know, they just kill you.
You mentioned earlier, you know, keeping that focus on getting better.
Yeah.
How much easier is that to do with a young team, especially coming off a close encounter like you had at Cal, and just maybe keeping them grounded as the wins pile up?
Yeah, well, look, again, that's your job. You know, your job's to keep guys focused on what they need to be focused on. You know, Darren and I have been together a super long time. And you know, so it's hard for me to recall when we started saying that our saying the mental state is everything. You know, for everybody in life, you know, not, you know, the worst mental state you can have as a player, as a coach is, you know, I'm a victim. You know, I'm a victim of, we don't have this in our, you know, at UCLA. I'm a victim of the coach doesn't let me do this, let me do that. Instead of the mirror, you need to have the mirror. So you can look in the mirror and tell yourself, figure out a way to get it done. So none of these guys are where they want to be. They're real simple. I remind them all the time, you know, nobody's where they want to be as a player. And the greatest players and most successful people, they know that. So they're driven every day. And your goal as a coach is, by the time a guy gets out of your program, he can do it on his own. You know, because you're not there to remind him every day. You know, that, hey, you got to get better. Hey, you got, you know, nobody's going to be there after you know, like Tiger Campbell. It's like I told him, I'm not going to be in, you know, in France when you wake up saying, hey, you got to be focused today. You know, you got to get them to a point where they understand that they're going to control their own destiny with their mental state. But their mental state's the key. You know, but it's all, you know, it goes back to each man's passion is his own. You know, if you're content to be average, then there's nothing I'm gonna be able to do for you. But here, when you start talking about our team, you know, we got a long way to go. You know, so, you know, any success to me is irrelevant. We got a long way to go.
Is Adai-Mara's heart slowed down a little?
You know, with Adai's is so young, Trace, what I've learned with him is you realize that he didn't play other than the national team stuff, you know, at his age level. Even when they're 17 and under, when Malaga went to the finals against he didn't start. The guy that's a lottery pick that's in the G League from Spain, Adai came off the bench. So as much as he's a tremendous prospect, but you know, when you're on an ACB team and you're 17 years old, you have no chance to play. You know, if you play, you know, any minutes he got were irrelevant minutes. You know, so like he just was, and they don't practice because his team's playing in 3 different leagues. Like so I realized like how much he needs practice and how much he needs reps and he needs experience. So, you know, I just say who he's going to be in 3 years from now.
How key will it be to have all those international guys here for the entire summer?
Huge but for high school guys as well. You know, just it's so different than what they're used to. Like I kid around with my buddy Jeff Kaufman. It's like, you know, high school guys, you gotta understand you're sharing practice time with the volleyball team and the JV team and the girls team. You only get to gym so much. Like, you know, there's a million rules that they deal with. They can't coach this game, you know, it's crazy stuff. So these kids get to this level and it's like scouting reports, class, practice, accountability, and like their head's gonna explode. It's the adjustment is unbelievable at every level, mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. Aside from now, you're living on your own, you know, away from your parents for the first time and dealing with, can I make those good decisions at night? It's just so, it's such a big adjustment, you know. So I wouldn't say there would be any more for the international guys than the high school. I just think it's so underrated because some guys are so talented that they make people forget. Lonzo Ball, Kevin Love, Zion Williamson. But that's one guy out of 5,000 that come in every year. It's one guy, you know. But that's what, you know, but that's the guy the media, you know, that the ESPN puts on every highlight. The rest of the freshmen don't exist, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, the difference is they don't have that expectation really in football. I think it's gotten more worse, but it used to be you just got redshirted, right? Back when you started you guys' business, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much 9 out of 8 or 9 out of 10 guys, if you're, especially if you're a lineman, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know, I think it's changed a little for them, but because they can't go pro till year 3, there's not. It's just the expectation on freshmen in college basketball at high major, you know, programs. It's just ridiculous, and that's just a byproduct of the media coverage that is, you know, a byproduct of being 2024. It's, you know, social media. It's way over. It's overexposure would be the understatement of the world for media coverage on young basketball players, which leads to completely unrealistic expectations that make it really hard on young basketball players.
One more, I know you might say you care more about traffic on the 405 than this, but you have been.
Really, it's Sepulveda corridor in the mornings is my traffic concern, but
Okay, you have been to 12 consecutive NCAA tournaments.
Yeah.
Has that become a point of pride? Have you
oh, it's been for a long time for me, you know, for a long time. But, you know, right, like I said, I try to be authentic, and I, you know, as much as I do care, I care more about, I got to a point in my career contractually and everything that I care about. I got to continue to make it about my players, not me. Now, they care about that. They care about that, but you got, you know, I just think that if we keep the focus, is the key is on getting better. Keep the focus that we have a good practice today, and that all of our players become a better shooter today. Because when you practice, you're either getting better or worse. Because if you handle the ball with your head down, you're reinforcing and getting better at handling the ball with your head down, so you can't see open people. It's just an example, you know. So, like when people say you're either getting better or you're worse, you're getting worse. That's why. You know, you'd be better off just go play some soccer and get some conditioning than reinforcing a bad habit. So I just try to keep the focus on that, on the things we need to do to improve. So, and then hopefully that'll take care of itself. You know, obviously we're not out of opportunity, but I've been fortunate with that, and it's certainly a point of pride. No question. All right, guys.
Thank you.